having used Linux or some Unix-based operating system, you're probably fairly aware of dot files. And you've also probably noticed that keeping track of them can kind of be a pain in the ass, especially if you're trying to just distro hop, reinstall your current OS, migrate to new hardware, what have you. The way that I've been keeping track of all of my dot files for the past couple years is been with Stow and Git. The big player here being Stow. So to begin with, what is Stow? Well, Stow, as stated here in the command page, is just a symlink manager. But what does that mean to us, and why do we even really care? The big thing about it is that it allows you to contain all your dot files in a single directory, symlink it around to where it needs to go. But now that begs the question, how does it work? So obviously we all know how the config files work, or the dot files. For a lot of these configuration files, they live in .config, and we have like for my neovim, there's .config and vim, and there's gonna be the init.vim, right? Same thing with like zsh.zsh or .config, zsh, etc. We know where the files need to live. What Stow does is just allows you to symlink it very easily to those spots. So how Stow figures out where to put it uses two pieces of information: the starting location and a relative path from that starting location. The way it gets the information is A, from the command, which is this right here. So this -t ~/ is going to say start the relative path from my root directory. How does it get the relative path from this root directory? So within each of these folders, the file structuring is the relative path that I want to symlink. So for example, if I go into ZSH, as we went over before, if you go to .config, ZSH, there are all my dot files for my ZSH. Now, this directory here on this far left pane, the path inside of it, as you can see by this little tree structure right here, it goes .config, ZSH, and then the ZSHRC, which is the exact same path for my root directory, .config, ZSH, ZSHRC. So when I run this command right here, it's going to create a symlink from the root directory, so .config, ZSH, and then basically place those files in that path. And the same thing works for all of these different ones. As another example, let's look at my neovim. So my path for my neovim is .config and vim, and then you have my init.vim right there. So if we go here to vim, we go into nvim, .config, nvim, and there's the init.vim right there. So to recap really quick, the stow command requires two pieces of information: the starting directory, which is prefaced by this -t, and then a directory name where the relative path inside that directory is going to be where the files are symlinked to. Now, the really nice thing about this is because it's symlinked, if I go to my .config and vim, and then I edit my init.vim, because it's symlinked, any edits I make here also modifies my configuration file in my .files clone. As an example of that, you can see I have no edits in my ZSHRC. I go to .zsh, .config, ZSH, and then edit my ZSHRC. Let's just add a space there. now if we run this command again, you can see that my .zshrc has been modified, even though I'm currently in my .config directory. It's still showing up in my .files clone as an edit. That's all that there really is to say for Stow. It's very simple, but it makes it super easy to keep track of all your modifications to your .files and keep all your systems consistent. But yeah, thank you, and have yourself a good day.